Florida just got hit with another devastating Cat 3 hurricane. I mean, the rumors leading up to this storm was FEMA was going to be out of money and might not last through hurricane season. I mean, this is twice in a matter of just weeks. There wasn't even enough time to clean up the damage from the last go around with Hurricane Helene. You know, where the waters rose so much in Tampa that it flooded a lot of the houses, and that debris was still on the streets. And Florida rushed and rushed, and many of the times the dump trucks were under police escort trying to get them to the dump. This is all baffling, and I think it's totally going to change the state of Florida. I think car insurance is, I don't even know where to go with that one. Home insurance is that one, I think that's toast after this.
This is literally catastrophic, and I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
I think that we're getting to the point where Citizens Insurance, state of Florida, you know, the state-backed insurance, that's going to go insolvent after this. There's no way insurance in Florida really survives this. I said before, when we got hit by Helene, that insurance is gone in the state of Florida. Well, we just got hit by another mega one in the state of Florida. And you got to start questioning, like, when they keep telling us this is a 100-year storm, and the next week they're like, this is a 100-year storm, and then the next week they're like, this is a 1,000-year flood. Is it really? Like, there's real questions on the amount of hurricanes we're getting. Are they documented more now? Maybe, probably.
Look at what they're doing in Florida. They're price gouging. They're wrapping all the gas pumps, showing that there is no gas. But somebody was smart enough to rip them open and show that there is gas. Pump your gas and get out of here.
Somebody fact check this. I don't know if it's a TikToker just trying to get attention, or if it's real. People were really doing this when people were trying to evacuate, because if they're holding this gas away from everybody trying to get out, that should be criminal. Politicians should look into this, because that's a national security risk. Somebody legislate that. I'm all for somebody trying to make money and for the capitalists to do their thing. But I don't know how to handle this situation if it's true. If it's a TikToker just getting attention, well, that's not cool. There's going to be so many broken houses, and the tornado damage was absolute astronomical. Tropicana Field is a disaster area right now. We got Disneyland, but it looks like it's underwater. Disney comment down below. The internet, you have to kind of wade through some of this stuff. I don't know if you were tracking Lieutenant Dan surviving the hurricane in a sailboat. I mean, the internet went wild over that on Twitter.
With Helene. Sure isn't my concern.
Right, because you're in a boat, it floats.
I go up
it's wind, which would be a lot stronger.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna work.
It's gonna work, huh?
I just gotta keep my ass on this side of these poles.
Yup.
You know, because once I get on those side of the poles, I'm in your world.
And it was a play-by-play watching if he was going to make it. And he said he was going to do it, and he did it. And, you know, he's a very interesting dude, one-legged guy in a sailboat, just like Forrest Gump. So I ran across this video on the internet, on Twitter. You follow me on Jack Motley Live at Twitter. And this was too interesting not to share. Now, I don't know what kind of validity there is to this, but birds were just falling from the sky. And I heard the rumor that there was a lot of birds in the eye of the storm. And a lot of them. And then I saw this video, and it's wild. Check it out. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I've never seen this before. First time. What do you think it is? People say it's displacement from the hurricane. But we're just in Costa Maya, so if these birds wanted to just land, they would have stayed there.
Yeah.
You know?
So do y'all normally see this many flying around at night? Like
the birds are dying while flying and falling on the ship. So basically, these guys just fell down. Yeah. What were you saying?
I mean, this is what internet videos are for. This is what YouTube's all about. The weird and the wild.
It's crazy because not many of them fall there.
Find where this is at. Comment down below. Real, not real. I don't know. Let's figure it out. But there are so many questions to ask here. What is home insurance in the state of Florida going to be like? What is car insurance going to be like after this? We saw the response of states in this hurricane. During Hurricane Helene, it looked like the government could care less. I mean, there's video after video of
There's nothing here.
We're 8 days, 9 days post-hurricane, and that was the first FEMA drop I've seen here in the Swannanoa area.
Or the only other people that have helped us is another private, citizens that are just basically our neighbors or our friends trying to help us. They hadn't seen anyone.
The leaders coming out not knowing what their own budget was.
We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants.
Not knowing what was going to be able to happen. They were spending money left and right. They want to label everything misinformation. How about the delivery in which the government put the information out? When they come out the day, like within days of the hurricane, and they're like, oh, we just gave $157 million to Lebanon, which is Hezbollah. And then within the same breath, they're like, we're out of money for FEMA and all the people in hurricane disaster areas might not get funding. We didn't make that up. The internet didn't make that up. But here's one thing about the internet. If you ask a question or make a statement and you don't know what the end result of that statement is, the internet is going to find it. And they're getting really good at it. And these politicians have forgotten they've been recorded for years. These storms have changed everything as far as how we view the media and our politics. It has put a magnifying glass on what we see. Twitter, X, Snapchat, all these companies have put so much data on the internet that we can now connect the dots and make sure us storm victims, those storm victims, get what they need. And that's super important. Is to make sure the aid gets where it needs to be with accountability and transparency. Film everything, upload everything. That's how we were able to do this in these two storms. Keep uploading throughout this entire storm. Do not stop uploading. Save everything you can. Film everything you can. Chart where all the supplies are going. Audit the audit.
We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms. If you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
I want to say, no disrespect for the offices of any of these authorities. I'm just merely saying the math doesn't math. I'm just got questions. I'm just trying to make it clear that we're hearing one thing, there's facts pointing the other, and somebody's not telling the truth. We just want transparency. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm just saying it doesn't seem right. So what is the alternative to all this? State-run media? Who will be the arbitrator of truth? When we already see the media can't do it, we already see that the authorities can't do it, and then there's a motive behind a lot of this that you can see in plain sight. So what's the real answer? Let me know down below and let me know your thoughts. See, hurricanes cause chaos. Inside chaos, money is made by those with lots of money. They take advantage of the chaos to buy properties that are distressed, to put in laws because of the chaos. They knee-jerk react a lot of things, and some things just truly haven't been planned for, and it's room for us to improve. That is with insurance, that is with emergency evacuation, that is with leadership. And amongst this chaos, we see where leadership fails, and that's all I'm asking, is for the failing leadership to be called out by the citizens. And I think that's what we're doing, and that's what we're finding out. And the citizen journalist is the only reason why we're able to do this. And if the state has its want, it will get rid of citizen journalists, because then all we have is the state telling the media what to do, and that's what happens now. All of this is just an opinion. Some of it is my questions. Some of it is just me putting my thoughts on the internet to know whether I'm right or wrong. It's just kind of like all over the place. I'm not really an expert in any of this. I just looked all this up. I asked a question, Google gave me an answer, and here's where we wound up. And when you put something out, like you're the head of Homeland Security, you go out, you read a cue card, no charisma at all, no believability at all, and then we find out that you're insolvent, and then the president comes out and says, don't believe this misinformation.
This disinformation going out about how, we're devoting all this money to migrants, and even one congresswoman suggesting that I control the weather. And
the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. The technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions.
Known as the hurricane tamer, Gates is listed as one of 13 inventors on a patent filed for hurricane prevention methods.
And then all of a sudden you come out the next week and say you found more money, or point the finger at another opposition in the government and say, fix this. Your hand's caught in the cookie jar. And when you make false statement after false statement, or it's just pure not understanding what your job is or how to do your job, or maybe you shouldn't be in that position. Maybe that's what it is. It's just pure ignorance in the position. I don't know. But when the delivery is so bad of the information and the FEMA site has so little information, what are people to believe? What are people supposed to say? When in time of a disaster, when it looks like an absolute bomb went off in the southeast. And here's the thing about a conspiracy theory. If there's no points of information to back the theory up, conspiracy theory. But when there's 1 point of information to back it up, 2 points of information to back it up, 3 points of information to back it up, 4 points of information to back it up, and I think we have enough dots to connect in a lot of these areas to show that maybe some of it might be true, if not all of it. And these are all my opinions, but I can go and find the information that will give me a few points of truth out of all these things.
The administration has money to send to Lebanon without Congress coming back. But Congress does have to come back to approve money to send to people in North Carolina. Do I have that right?
Thanks, everybody.
And all this money on DoD defense. And it really makes me question, we spent all this money on bombs and all these things and defense and Star Wars project, SR-71, satellites, all this stuff. But the thing that damages the United States the most is these storms, these natural disasters. So I look at it in a few different ways. One, why do we not have the capability to dissipate some of these storms, or at least make them a little less painful? Because the amount of damage it does to these cities is astronomical, in the tens of billions of dollars. It makes me wonder, either they want the economy to rebuild itself and it supplies jobs and all this thing, or they don't have the ability to dissipate the storm. Now, let's look at the flip side of that. If they do have the ability to dissipate a storm and they don't dissipate the storm, that's criminal. That is something that people should be really mad about. So when I look at these things, the ability to, the ability to not, if you do have the ability and you don't, now, or if you had the ability to nudge a storm, and you don't, and if people find out 30 years from now that they had the ability to nudge a storm, people should be really mad. There should be some real reparations on that, because they didn't. So when I see the president come out and he says, we don't have the ability, or it's crazy to even think we have the ability. And then I see the CIA director come out and he says that they do have the ability. Or, in my understanding as a layman and not an expert, kind of that they do have the ability. And this video was a long time ago. So when you go down that rabbit hole and you're like, wait a minute, in Dubai, they see the clouds and it rains. I mean, we see all this water coming down, right? So why isn't the inverse possible? So we really got to ask these questions. And I think governors should ask these questions. I think there should be national security question, subpoena these politicians and everybody to come to Capitol Hill and say under oath, yes or no, and strip the top secret stuff. And that's the thing. That's the reason why all this misinformation happens. Okay, don't blame the people that can take the easily accessible data and throw it on the internet and on these videos. Blame the politicians that in their inability to come out and communicate that the gray areas of these projects, saying, yeah guys, look, we've got this ability and it's not very good. We try it sometimes, but the inverse of the damage it can create if we do use it is like birds fall from the sky, or like, you know, rain becomes toxic, or like we could kill all the dolphins. And if you just said that, we'd be like, yeah, cool, man. Like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do that. But instead you hide it. And when you hide things, that's when these type videos come out and say, hey, you know, y'all lied to us. Just stop lying. You know, hell, if aliens exist, just say, yeah, there's some bad dudes out there. Get your shotguns, okay? We'd be like, cool, got it, right? But if you just say, aliens don't exist, don't quote that misinformation, and a freaking spaceship shows up, we got problems, bro. You know, just don't lie to us. That's how all of us, we're not stupid. We sometimes we overreact. Sometimes we do some stupid stuff, yeah? But if you just said, hey, Jack, you're overreacting, here's why, I'd be like, you got me. You got me. That's right. That's all we're asking. I believe that the state of Florida, Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene has changed everything for the nation. This is the first time it's been in our head with true consequences of somebody not telling us the truth, somebody not owning the information, lack of leadership. And I want to say this. Everybody that got hurt by this storm, my prayers go out to you. I'm in the state of Florida. We got hit too. We always get hit. We pray for those that are hurt. I don't want anybody to think that we're not praying for y'all, we're not hoping for y'all. That's the reason why we're making this content. I'm making this content. Is for us to learn something from all this. That we are getting pummeled. We're getting lied to. And I just want the truth to come out. Or just give me some part of the truth. Just straight shoot me. Hey, this is what's going on. And I hope everybody can recover from this, and I hope everybody is able to rebuild. But there's a lot of questions we got to look at. Should we rebuild it? Should we be building houses differently in different places? Insurance, should it be fenced to small locations, county-wide, you know, area-wide, not full state? Are we going to get hit by more storms? And is there any way we can dissipate these storms? And I know these storms are vital for the ecosystem, for water to come back and for things to get washed away that needs to be cleansed. But the amount of debris and garbage that's going into these oceans and these ecosystems is truly baffling. You know, we want to outlaw straws, but then we see how much debris goes into the water after this, like gasoline, oil, sewage treatment solutions and sewage. And, you know, we saw it in Helene where whole sewage stations came down the river. Like, there's a lot of questions, and that's why I'm making this video. And I truly pray for everybody out there that's hurt, and I hope we can recover from this very soon. It's all these, the lack of response by the government to come in and stop these things, fix these things. Look, the Army, I've pointed out a million times, could come in and solve most of these disaster relief problems. But they never use them. The resources exist, the budget exists, the leadership exists, but they never use it. Katrina, they sent the Army in. Things got done. Helene didn't send the Army in. Things didn't get done. Even when they were just a few hours down the street with a full division ready to go within 24, 48 hours. It just didn't happen. And in Florida, you know, I pick on the Democrats and the Democratic leadership a lot. But if you watch my condo series, I hammered the Republicans too. My goal is not to be left, right, up, down. I just want common sense to react on a lot of these things. And to say, you know what, those leaders, they did what they were supposed to do. People got what they needed. Instead of saying, why was there no fuel at the gas stations? And then, did you notice the gas stations were acting like they were out of gas? That should be a national security problem, okay? Yeah, I understand that it's that gas station owner's fuel. Understandable. But I'm not sure how you fix this. You've got gas stations along an evac route. Everybody needs gas to get out of the state. It's been ordered that everybody leave. But then there's not enough gas to get out of the impact area. And then these gas station owners, this is conjecture, this is just what I saw in the deep dark of the internet, was wrapping the gas pumps with cellophane, okay? And they were acting like they were out of gas. Because here's what I think they were going to do, is they were going to let everybody go, not their problem. And then when everybody's out of gas after the hurricane, they jack the prices up. And they're the only one in town with gas. Everybody's come to their service station and they sell their cupcakes and their hot dogs and their everything in the convenience store. Now, you tell me if that should not be a national security issue or a state security issue. I don't know. Because if you take 50 of those gas stations off the market, 100 along an evac route, well, now all of a sudden, cars start running out of gas. Interstate gets stopped up. There's no recovery. I guarantee the state wasn't rolling around with fuel trucks during the storm trying to fill them back up. What do you do with it? Okay? Real problem. I think the state of Florida is going to learn about that. All the states should be learning about that because that was wild. Really, in conclusion, I want to say this. Civilian reporters was one of the most important things on the internet in the past week. People out there with their cell phones, people on TikTok telling their stories, people out there on Twitter shooting information. The amount of censorship on Facebook, Instagram, the media is baffling. I could throw clips up all day long of the media lying and politicians going on and lying, and then the media twisting it, and then they just echo the same words: misinformation, misinformation, is this misinformation? And then I can just find a video that proves that they're wrong. Heck, the mayor of Tampa or whatever thought Lieutenant Dan was rescued, and Lieutenant Dan's still in the boat. And they went and asked him, hey man, we heard you were rescued. He's like, I haven't moved. But the media wanted to pump it out there that they saved Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan was doing his own thing, okay? And that's the thing about evacs and evacuations. Where do we go? Do we want to be homeless on the road? And if you don't have the money to evacuate, because it's expensive, evacuations is expensive, then what do? These are our homes. These are where we live. Well, I'd rather be living in a foxhole in Pensacola than living on the side of the road in Louisiana. You know, no offense to Louisianians. I'm just saying I'm not from there. I'd rather be in my home state, barrels pointed out, than I would be somewhere I don't belong, poor, no money, no fuel, my kids, my family, my grandma with me. What do you do with that? That's not an answer. So I hope we've learned something from these hurricanes. I know we've learned to ask questions and say, is this the best politicians can do? Is that the truth? Hold them accountable. And I'm not sure how voting is going to work because we've got like 4 states in the South tore up and they're all swing states. You know, how do you vote? You know, there's 3 million people without power right now, but the devastation is unreal. And you got to start questioning, and I'm not saying I believe any of this. I'm just saying when I see one point of information that says something's happened, and then another, then another, then another, and when it's completely different sources, left, right, educated, non-educated, and I start seeing animals do weird stuff, and you start saying, I don't know, man, like, can somebody explain this to me? And that's where the president needs to come out, or a PhD in some situation, come out and say, look, here's what's going on. We think this. We're not quite sure we think this. Not come out on a cue card with your head down and just read off something a speechwriter wrote and then say, that's all, thanks, bye, misinformation, bye. Let's ask these questions and make them give us the answers. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's my opinion. And when I'm proven wrong, I'll be like, you got me there. Because that's the difference between ignorance and wisdom, is when you understand you're wrong, you say, man, I was wrong. But when I see video after video saying that there's questions to be asked, not necessarily I'm wrong or I'm right, but there's questions, we need to ask those questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below if I'm right, wrong, up, down, left, right. Let's get the argument going, and I'll see you guys in the next video.